And we're on.
Hey everyone, it's Lori Hamilton and Holly Fogel, and we are Coaches on Call. We decided to bring you guys a podcast. So Holly and I started talking one day and we said, you know, we get so many questions from agents that are just so many great topics to really just talk about, a lot of meat on the bone that we could go into and help everyone. So we decided we're going to jump on, and we're always going to bring our team of experts with us to talk about a different topic pretty much every week. So you may see us every week, maybe every other week, but we plan on trying to hit you with some content every week that we think is going to benefit you. And it's really just a lot of discussion points. So Holly, how did we get here? Let's talk about that. This is episode 1. How did we get here?
All right, so episode 1, Lori and I, like she said, we've been talking about this idea for a while, and sometimes you just have to jump in and just go for it. So I was on a Facebook group, and it was a mastermind group, and a topic came up about referring multiple vendors in all different areas, as opposed to just one expert that you work with in each. So 3 lenders, 3 home inspectors, 3 title companies. You know, I'm already getting like confused. And so the conversations were pretty heated and pretty interesting, and so many different opinions, which I love. And I love that everybody has some opinions. But it really got me thinking, because honestly, I posted that I never did do that. I did offer several in the beginning, and it was my broker that suggested a better way. And when I posted that, some of the feedback was pretty interesting. So I decided that this may be a really fun one to tackle. Do you have to recommend more than one preferred vendor in each of the areas? And so in comes Lisa Etheridge, our broker support manager, Lisa, who handles all of our broker support at the office of RE/MAX Center. So Lisa, you want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, I have, originally licensed, I'm trying to think, it's been
20 something years.
Close to like 20, around 20-ish years, and joined the broker support team maybe 4 years ago. And in that role, I'm reviewing the contracts, taking all the problem calls when there's that emergency issue. So I'm hearing all of these calls, like what Holly is describing all the time. So and helping people work through how to best solve their problems, working with just the contract, sometimes educating agents and other agents that we're working with to try and get what everybody wants, which is to get to the closing table. So I think this will be a great opportunity to slowly share each week all the different scenarios that I come across. It'd be great for everybody to learn from all the issues and things that are happening.
Great. And I love that, because I know that we like to focus on, there are a lot of ways to run your business. And at RE/MAX Center, we like to talk about best practices. And it doesn't mean that there isn't more than one way to do something. There sometimes is just a better way to maybe limit liability or enhance the client experience or keep yourself out of trouble.
Yes, that's right.
And I was going to say, I love this topic because I feel like it's a hot topic. First of all, I love how you cause controversy, Holly. Like, it's fun. It's fun, right? So I feel like there's several layers that we're going to talk about today. Like, we've got, you know, the frenzy that happened was, oh, it's a RESPA violation. And you're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, oh, there's confusion out there. Like, it would be really great to know, like, once and for all, or just like, let's clear out the air and let's clear some confusion here, because they're saying, hey, if you don't offer 3 providers, it's a RESPA violation, right? And so we gotta get down to that first, don't you think?
Exactly. So I think let's first start with, what is RESPA? So RESPA is a law. I think most of us have probably heard about it and remember learning about that back when you first get your license and the term was thrown around, but not many of us, maybe remember what it is on a daily basis. So RESPA, it stands for the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. And so kind of as the name, the procedures, the settlement part of that implies it really has to do with the settlement statement, all the fees that go there. So it's about disclosing any settlement clause, kickbacks, all of those things. So it's not as much about limiting who you refer to or how many contractors or roofers or insurance people you refer to. It's as long disclosing if you get a benefit from doing that. So if you were to refer a home warranty company, for example, if by referring them, you're going to get $100 Visa card, then that needs to be disclosed.
Well, that's great. Right there, point one, referring 1 versus 2 versus 20 is not a violation of RESPA. So we
Right.
can clear
So
that up right away.
Exactly. So I think go back to like Holly said, the best practices, best practice is going to be refer the people who you think are going to do the best job. Don't give out 5 names just to throw out 5 names. If you know that Bob the handyman is the best guy and he's going to show up when he says he's going to and have great prices and he has all the insurance requirements needed, refer him. Don't just throw out extra names to throw extra names. You're putting your name out there. So refer the best, not the most.
I love that. So Lori, let me just ask you, when you were, starting your career, what did you do? Let's kind of hear your journey and what that looked like.
Yeah, when I first got into the business, it was, whatever I was unsure about, I was asking my broker, I was asking other agents what they do. And it was always suggested, hey, give 3. And the biggest takeaway was to limit your liability, right? And I didn't go any further than that. I just trusted, I'm going to limit my liability. Like, okay, I'm going to give you 3, you get to pick. I'm not going to steer you towards anybody. So I always gave 3. Now, I want to talk about, is it a best practice? Like, I'm not saying it's not. I want to hear more of an opinion, because Holly, you and I kind of talked about this. You were like, you know what? Don't give me 4 lenders and ask me to choose. Tell me which one is the best. And I kind of always thought, oh, that's kind of risky, like telling, they're the best, but I don't know, like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a little bit more, because I tended to give 3 different, or I gave different ones, because I was like, if it's a lender and it's my buyer, all my buyers are different. So I felt like a different lender is going to suit one of my buyers' needs. I don't know, but then you brought a different perspective, Holly.
So my perspective, and I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying that it's bad. Like I said, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying what's the best practice. And for me, what happened was I was giving several choices, and it was actually Pat who said, why don't you just establish your team and limit the amount of research that you're making your buyer go and do? Like, you are just putting on so much more work. Why did they hire you to begin with? They hired you to have a smooth transaction with the best people that could do it, not to go and interview more people. And what happened for me, what I really noticed it the most was and I had already made the switch to do that, but when I moved my first time out to Denver, called I had an agent, and she was a friend, and I said, hey, who should I use for my lender? Well, here's 3 people. And I was like, I'm coming from Georgia, I'm going to Denver, who should I use? I don't want to try to figure out of 3. I don't have time. Like, dude, who's the best? And then she said, oh, okay, we'll call this person. I'm like, well, why didn't you just tell me that to begin with? And then she did the same thing with the inspector. I don't know anybody in Denver. I don't even know what to ask. And I'm a realtor. Like, I'm like, who has performed the best for you in the past? Like, this is why I wanted your expertise, was so that I didn't have to figure it out. But the other thing that I think is really interesting is, what if all of our clients never referred just us? Well, I'm not just going to refer Holly. I'm going to refer 3 people, because I don't want it coming. I mean, we're asking all the people to become raving fans for us, and then we don't even do that for our team members. But
Right.
that's kind of part of my perspective.
Ooh,
do you
I kind of, I think you kind of changed my mind. No, like really, I think you did that little part right there because we always want to be the only one, right? We
Yes.
don't,
Right.
you know, when we want to work by referral, a lot of us want to work by referral. We
Mhm.
don't, we want them to be like, call Lori, call Holly, call Lisa. You
Mhm.
know, we want them to no question. And we don't want them interviewing anybody else, so to speak, right? So, same concept. I love it.
I like the
But-
team
but-
idea that
But
Holly mentioned.
if you're really highly recommended person can't do it, I still don't think there's anything wrong with having anybody else in your back pocket so that the whole idea of home ownership for a buyer is not out the window. You know, like just because so-and-so lender may not be able to help this person, maybe another lender can, you know, but maybe it is. I know these people are great and they're the best, but you know, if for some reason that's not a good fit, what if they don't like their personality? They could be the best and you're the best. You think they're the best and they perform, they close on time, they have it all together. So I think maybe that's where where my opinion was like, I don't know, I'm kind of on the fence. I don't want to just be committed just to one person.
Well, you want your buyer to have a good experience and you want the closing to go smoothly. And buyers, they aren't buying 3 or 4 homes a month, where the agents are in this process multiple times a month. The average buyer might buy a home 3 times in a lifetime. So they don't know. They want your advice. They may have a few friends that have bought homes recently, and they may hear good stories or horror stories. But giving them that recommendation is, I think, a great service. It's to provide. I like the word Holly used about creating your team. That's part of your team. You want say these are the trusted people in your sphere that you know will provide the same level of business that you do. So you can say, here's the lender, the inspector, the surveyor, the whatever, or the termite guy, all of the different people that you know they'll do the same. These aren't the only people, but they're the people that I know work with and will provide the same level of service and expertise that I provide. And what you're getting to, Lori, about the liability, I think that was really pushed a lot for a long time, because there was a time period where there was a lot of RESPA violations where people were getting lots of money that was eventually categorized under the kickback category for referring different people. And so people just got totally freaked out about making referrals, and the response, instead of figuring out what RESPA actually meant, was give lots of choices. And that wasn't the real solution. Provide the right people, but just disclose if you're going to get a fee for referring them. It's just all about disclosure, like so much in our real estate forms. One way to limit your disclosure, if your audience is in Georgia, you all may help people in other states, but hopefully other states have something similar. But here in Georgia, part of our forms is a vendor list, where you can write down, they have 14 lines, but you can write down all the different people that you think would be great. And at the bottom of that list, and it's just a form where you would write the name, type of vendor, and number. Then there's a little bitty paragraph that our forms committee has written, stating that it's just a courtesy. It doesn't constitute any warranty or representation of the quality of the vendors. Kind of a little mini disclosure, so that, I don't know, if the inspector misses something, you don't have to worry about all of that.
So, okay, so that's good. So if you're recommending several different vendors, you can put that on there. So if you want to feel like you're reducing your risk of liability, that's really good. This reminds me of when the first broker that I worked with, whenever I would get a buyer brokerage agreement signed, we did have affiliate partners. We had affiliate partners in lending, in the closing attorney, and insurance services. So we had an affiliated business disclosure that had to get signed at the time we signed the buyer brokerage agreement, where it basically said, we can recommend these services for you. And if you use them, we may receive, the broker, not me, the broker would receive a fee for conducting business with one of our affiliated partners, but they don't have to use them, and it was ultimately up to them. So that was disclosed ahead of time, but it was only for our affiliate partners, the brokerage's affiliate partners. And if we referred them, then, that we were disclosing that too as an agent.
Yes, and that's a great idea. I see a lot of offices have something like that, and that's another great way to do it. Have a list of the same thing, all those forms, and explaining the arrangement, and most of these forms will even list that you will get a $50 fee if you refer these people, or $100 for referring the people. So it's a good way of disclosing any kind of discounts or rebates you may you get for referring them.
Yeah, I think it seemed like there was just a lot of confusion. And I think, for tenured agents, even for myself, because I was like, is it a violation? And then we get violation maybe confused with liability. And so if there's just ways to just kind of cover yourself so that and you're educated on it, then you can probably sleep at night. Is kind of my opinion.
Absolutely.
And I like the vendor list, because you can still just use one vendor for each thing and say, this is my team. Now we're going to be working very closely. So if my person drops the ball, or there's a personality conflict, or if you feel the desire, maybe you have a really good friend that's a home inspector, by all means, I'm not, saying that you use these people or we don't work together. I'm not doing that at all. But these people have performed for me in the past several times. And my goal is to minimize frustration, inconvenience, minimize the turbulence of a real estate transaction. And my team members do that. Now, if for some reason, because we're going to know if you're getting along with them, if they're providing the high quality, and I always have, regular meetings with them to make sure that they're operating at the standards that I want to make sure they are for my service, standards for my client experiences. But if for some reason you want to use someone else, that's fine. Just make sure that I get introduced to them and that I understand, what they're providing, and that I'm completely in the loop, and I'm all good for that. But when people say that limits liability, if I give two, inspectors, if they have a problem with either of those inspectors, there's still an issue. They're still going to come back to me if it was on the list. So 1 or 20, they're still going to come back and say, well, you gave me that person. So that's not really an argument that I see, in there at all anyway. But and again, at first blush, I could see rushing to think that, but when you really think through it logically, that doesn't really,
You're exactly right. You're still putting these people out there. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or 15, it's still someone that you referred. So yeah, I think having that, some kind of disclosure about it is really what's important. I mean, like so much in real estate, it's just disclose, and that's what keeps us out of trouble all the way around.
Yeah, and I think as long as it's said that they have a choice. So yeah, I provided these to you, but you also have a choice of your own.
Yeah,
like you may not like any of these people I recommend, but it's your choice whether you go with them or not.
Right. And if they choose someone else, that's a good time, I think, to have a conversation with your client and say, okay, choose your own, but let's make sure that they have these qualities, because you are the expert. You're the one that does real estate every day. Say, use whoever you want. But if they're an inspector, make sure that they have these certifications and this insurance. If they're a lender, do they only work 9 to 5 weekdays, and what time zone are they in? That can be a big issue, rather than maybe your preferred lender that works 24/7 like realtors do. So I think those are just discussions to have as people are choosing their own vendors, to make sure that they think about that. Because they don't think about it. They don't do this every day. You as the realtor and the expert know to think about that. And so I think that's how you can educate, not steer, but just educate. Say, these are the things you want to look for to make sure that all your vendors have these qualities, that this will be helpful when we're going through these different stages.
And I think the other thing too that, Pat always reinforced was you have a team even when you're an individual agent. And I think so many want to try to act like, oh, I'm all by myself. And I didn't want to do that. I wasn't on a real estate team per se with other realtors, but I found, safety in numbers, and I felt really good having quality people. So I went out and I interviewed the lender, and we had lunch, and we formed a great relationship. And I did that with the inspector, and we did that with the home warranty company, and we had our preferred closing attorney, and I knew all of those. So when I presented, who you were going to be working with, I had pictures of all of us. It wasn't just me. I wanted them to know that, hey, you're getting a team of people that absolutely know what they're doing, and they're going to get you to the closing table. They're going to complete the sale, as smoothly as possible with the least amount of inconvenience and frustration. That's who I have chosen to partner myself with. It's all in the delivery, and it's all in setting expectations and not rushing. And, we all can hear Pat in our head, push the hold button, slow everything down.
Yes, exactly.
Slow everything down. The less you spend in front of your clients, the less value that they perceive you're giving them. So, the value comes in the education and in articulating and, hopefully providing them with information that they didn't have before they were able to have the opportunity to come in contact and really have the great opportunity to work with you.
Yes, I think that's a great plan to really, and that's a great tip for other maybe new agents listening that have that same sense of, oh my gosh, I'm on my own. I'm not this huge, agent, to go in and still confidently say I have a team. And that can give that agent so much more confidence, knowing that they, after really meeting with all of their different vendors, have that relationship. So if they aren't quite sure about VA loans yet, they can contact their lender and figure it out, and they can connect their client quickly and explain everything at that top level. It is, having that team is great. On your website have pictures of all those people, call them part of your team, have little bios, really use that.
So thank you for saying new agents, because I love new agents. I love mentoring them and all of that stuff too. So Holly, when you say set up your team, for those agents that are new out there, let's talk about who's on your team. Not specific people, but the vendors that would be on your team. Like where do we need to start with that?
And I think if you go through the whole transaction, you can look at all the different areas in which you can highlight a team member. So you have your broker for support and questions. You have your office staff that answers incoming calls. They might be doing part of your marketing. You may have a transaction coordinator that you've already hired, or that's part of your office. Photographer, right? You're going to have a professional photographer. I mean, I don't think agents are taking their own photos anymore. Unless they're,
I hope not.
Unless they're, well, there's some people that actually are photographers. Maybe you have a relationship with a staging company. So you have your stager. Then you might have, of course, you have your lender, and then you're going to have your home warranty company. So if that's something, I mean, we use home warranties for the buyers and sellers. That's part of both of the transaction right there on both sides, whether it's a buyer or a seller. How about home insurance? People need home insurance. So who's your preferred home insurance person to make sure that that's all squared away? Then we have our closing companies, other states, it's title companies, but who's running the title? As soon as you get a listing, you need to make sure that that's clear title right away, get the legal description. So I have a team member to take care of that. We have our, did I say home inspector?
Movers.
Oh, movers, yeah.
You have movers. If you have access to Move Easy concierge service, are you promoting that right out of the gate? So what I really encourage folks to do is take your vital activities checklist when you have a buyer, take your vital activities checklist when you have a seller, and we have those. So if anybody's interested in a starting point, a starting checklist, I'd be happy to provide those to you. We'll put our contact information in here. But go through each of those activities, write down what you do. and then see where there's opportunity. Oh yeah, I do use this person. I use this vendor. I use that. And then just build out a 1-page in Canva about all your team members. One other thing I want to recommend is if you're brand new, remember that you can use the power of your office sales. So you can always, and I used to say that all the time because, our broker was always like, remember, the broker owns the listings, the broker owns, and, I'm saying it in that form, but all those sales are calculated in your office. So I could go on an appointment and say, hey, our office, we just closed, 321 homes last month. I mean, we've got it figured out. I'm allowed to say that.
Yep.
So use the power of your office stats, especially if you're feeling, I'm brand new, I don't have any sales. Yes, you do. You're at an office that has sales. So tap into that. You can absolutely do that. And that's another great thing you can do for your team. Did I miss anything? Any team members?
I don't think so.
I like what you're saying about marketing your office, though. I mean, your particular, brokerage in your local area, where do you rank? Or if you're one of the top brokerages in your area, top closings, top transactions, awards that your office has won, use all of that to make it sound like you come from the best place with the best services and expertise in your market area. So absolutely use that.
All right, so have we peeled back all the layers of how many vendors do we have to refer?
I know.
Onion full.
I mean, so
gosh, we can, I love hot topics. So, if anybody out there is thinking about a hot topic they came across, a difference of opinion, kind of like me and Holly kind of started off with difference of opinion. Changed my mind, not gonna lie. You changed my mind about that. I do love the team. I do love, hey, let's represent your team behind you, because what do we always say about real estate? Sometimes we feel like we're on our own island and we feel like we're alone out there. So let's just remember that we're not. Like, everybody's in it with each other. So I just say, look, we want to hear any challenges, any hot topics, things that you've heard, maybe you're not really sure about. We can bring Lisa in more and she could do some more deep dives, because Lisa, even when you and I were talking and I said, hey, can you be one of our experts? You made mention, you were like, it would be interesting to know.
Yes.
When you were an agent and you were practicing, you were like, it would be so interesting to know what problems Pat comes across and how we can avoid them. Yes. So, we want to make this for everybody to where they feel like they can get some nuggets of information, on a weekly basis that is going to help them. No matter if it's a hot topic.
Learn by everyone else's mistakes, see what's going on in the industry. Because all the issues, it seems like it comes in waves, as does everything with the market. So what's the current issue? How can you avoid it? I think that would be awesome. So I'd love to see what other people are interested in. I've got tons of my own ideas from different calls. So
awesome.
Great.
Yeah. So definitely everybody tune in. We have a web page. It's called Coaches on Call. We will be adding this to that on a regular basis. Plus, it's a place for you to share and put in your suggestions for future podcasts, as well as if you would like to be a guest. If you have, we're going to start forming our guest list. So we're really excited to be rolling this out and really just hoping to add to your knowledge base, your skill set, your level of confidence, your expertise, and of course, whatever you can share is going to help us too. And we would appreciate that as well.
All right.
Great.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining us on our #1 session. We will talk to you soon. And goodbye from
there
Denver.
You go.